What's up, y'all? This is another episode of Crazy Scary Cool. I'm Chris, and I'm here to talk to you about the newest Strangers film, Strangers Chapter One. So this is going to be a start of a new trilogy. This film, I'm not sure how much is going to be connected to the first two films, but to my knowledge, this is going to be a standalone story. I'm open to being wrong if there is some sort of connections to the other two films, but right now I'm just going to look at this film as a standalone. So to that point, um, I did not enjoy this film. I'm not even going to lie to you. And the reason why is because this is being seen as a reboot and is a standalone trilogy, but this new film is essentially almost frame for frame a remake of the first film. Um, so I will say some people I really haven't heard anyone who's liked this film. Um, I didn't really like it, but I think if you liked the first film, then you probably would be higher on it than people who disliked it. And the reason why, again, is because it's essentially the same movie. If you hated the first film, then you're probably going to despise this movie. Just because it's essentially the same film, but it does everything that the first one did much worse. Um, so it doesn't do nearly as good of a job as building dread and suspense. I think the first film really played on the psychological aspect of being home alone, of being isolated, and that fear that I feel like a lot of people have that you're being watched, or I know for me personally, like if I'm home alone and one of my fears is that like if I put the remote on, if I left it on the couch and I come back and it's on the table and I'm freaking myself out. I think the first film did a really good job of playing on those not natural fears, but realistic fears. And I feel like this film didn't give as much tender love and care. I think it was in a little bit more of a rush for the home invasion aspect of it, to where I think the first film really like built it up to a crescendo that they were fucking with them, they were playing with them, essentially playing with their food, really toying with them. It was much more of like a cat and mouse game, and it really built up to the point that like, yo, what is going on, really freaking them out. So by the time that they made their entrance, they had already had really like been playing with them so much that they were on edge. With this film, there was a little bit of that same kind of like toying with them, but I think there was much more of that rush to the home invasion. There wasn't as much of a build up. So I think that some people who may have disliked the first one may have said that the film was slow, but for me, I take that slowness more so as just them playing games with them and that creating that, okay, someone's here, what's going on, like I'm going crazy, I'm freaking out, just building that paranoia. So I didn't find it slow. This film, I guess, like maybe a fair maybe something that some people may see as an improvement on is that it does definitely get to the action a little bit quicker, but for me I think that kind of undermines it. um so again, it's a very similar film to the first. And again, I don't it's not a remake, so it feels kind of weird that they essentially made the exact same film, and especially knowing that this is a trilogy, I'm curious on what the second and third are going to be, and just like how necessary this film would actually be. Because if the second and third is really good, and if we could have gotten to that point without having the same exact film, then I think that obviously having a better film will redeem this first one. But it would have been disappointing to know that that they could have done something more unique, if that makes sense. I just think that I'll see how the film plays out, but I think that they could have get to the second and third by making a more unique film, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, so I don't know. I just give points for originality. And this first one was not original. And also, kind of even worse is that there were some really dumb decisions made by the characters. These characters made some really poor decisions, and I feel like horror has done a really good job of getting away from needing characters to do dumb things to move the plot forward. I think that in the last like decade or so, um, I think that horror films have gotten smarter, because people in real life do, even in my personal life, like I've done stupid things, also done some smart things. I don't think that people are always just going to behave. dumbly in a crisis situation. Is it possible? Yes, but it's frustrating to see that on historically on films, and so it was refreshing to see horror films get away from that. Um, so this felt like sort of like a step backwards, that having some these characters do some really silly things. Um, so I'm not gonna lie, this is not a good film. I didn't enjoy it. It didn't do anything original. It kind of pulled the rug out from under me by saying this is a reboot but not a remake, but then this copied the film, so I feel lied to. um the trilogy could still be good, so I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. um Film 2 and film 3 could be superior films and could make up for it, but this still has to be seen as a miss. So I would say I would still recommend to go seeing the movie just because I'm still anticipating the trilogy. If this was a standalone film, then this would be a huge miss if this was a standalone. So the one thing that is giving it that I'm giving it some grace for is that it is truly just chapter one in a larger trilogy. So again, if you like the first Strangers, I know the second Strangers is a little bit divisive. I personally enjoyed it, but if you are invested in this franchise, if you're interested in the trilogy, then definitely go see it just to see how it goes. To be honest with you, again, it's very similar to the '08. So really you could just watch the last 10 minutes, um, and can probably get to film 2 from there. So I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself saying that you don't need to go see it. But I mean, if you've seen the '08 one, then you kind of know, you have an idea what happened in this one. Um, but I love horror, so it's not a total waste of time. Um, so I'm just curious on how much maybe film 2 and 3 connects to the first film. So maybe I will say just go ahead and go see this one just so you can, because I think the filmmaker said that this is meant to be viewed all at once. So watching 1, 2, and 3 in succession. Um, but they're of course being released not all at once. So yeah, I'm gonna say that this is a miss. But hopefully the rest of the trilogy can make up for it. Maybe there's some connections there that shows why they made the same film. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna denounce it totally just yet. But right now it's 0 for 1. But I'm an optimist, and hopefully the rest is good. So that is gonna be my. I guess I did get into some spoilers, but yeah. So that's The Strangers Chapter One. I am looking forward to number two. This kind of not rubbed me the wrong way, but this didn't set a good first start. But I am looking for two just to see like where it heads. So that's going to be my review of The Strangers Chapter One. Let me know what you all think of it, and yeah, stay spooky.